I am Koketso Andile Timban, and I would like to introduce you to the Childhood Education Flagship program at the University of Johannesburg. I started this journey as an undergraduate student in the program. I moved on to my postgraduate studies, and now I'm a newly appointed lecturer.
The Department of Childhood Education is a team of committed, highly professional, well-educated individuals who work with the combined goals of excellent teacher education and research to serve education in this country.
We have different qualifications at different levels. A BA degree in foundation or intermediate phase teaching, an honours, master's, and a PhD in childhood education.
We have on this campus 2 programs at undergraduate level, one for the foundation phase and one for the intermediate phase, which means that you can choose one of 2 programs in order to qualify as a primary school teacher in South Africa.
This program is unique as it is situated in practice. Many teacher education programs at universities are too academic and don't give students enough practical experience in the classroom. This particular program aims to address that need.
Our teacher education programs on the Soweto campus are currently unique in the country because we have a school attached to the university, to the Faculty of Education. This school was established in collaboration with the Gauteng Department of Education. So it is a university school, a research school, a training school, a teaching school, whichever term you want to use, but it's also a public school.
Establishing a teacher education program in conjunction with a teaching school requires effort, dedication, and planning.
So I was there at the initial stage when the school was thought about, and then eventually when we got to the point where we started to establish everything and put structures into place. They started with a building in 2009 and they built the grade R classes. The school had to start in 2010, so we had to find children to come to the school, and we went around to various schools in the surrounding area to look at the waiting lists, and we found 33 Zulu speaking children and 33 Sotho speaking children, and they started. We obviously got their parents to understand what the school is about because it was something completely new.
Fondo Jabula School, it's a school situated in Soweto. First of its own kind. It is a teaching school where we get the students from UJ who actually come to our school to learn more about good practices when it comes to teaching.
What our students were going to work with had to be perfect. So apart from the fact that the students would be working there, I also wanted to ensure that the school would be successful. It was almost like a baby that needed to grow with our department because we had 4 staff members, and eventually we grew over the 2 years that followed. And we also had a very small group of students. There were about under 50 students.
2 students from our first cohort, who are now lecturers, can reflect on the value of the program as students, teachers, and lecturers.
So I think because there's such a strong, component of integrating the actual methods and things that you learn in class with the teaching school, there's a very strong emphasis on putting what you learn into practice. So I think that's where we benefited, whereas people who, for example, studied at different institutions where they didn't have as much practical experience, they might have been lacking a bit.
It's never been done. There weren't any models that we could follow. So in that whole process, it was the lecturers, the very few that we had, the students, the very few that we had, and those very few children. We all learned together in that process. Working as a team in that way was beneficial for the success of the teaching school.
Why is a program situated in practice so important for the preparation of future teachers?
Very often we find that we are so concentrated on what is theory that we forget that with student teachers particularly, it's important that they go into classrooms and see teaching actually in practice, just to cross that divide between what is theory and practice. Novice teachers generally also have great difficulty if they are not exposed to this kind of practice and seen practice.
So I think while we were still studying teaching, we saw a lot of methods or things of how to teach. And then we also had practical experience in actual classrooms, and I think that strengthened our knowledge. So now when we teach future teachers how to teach these specific things, we sort of come from a different perspective, because we were taught how to do it, and then we actually did it, and now we're teaching someone else to do it.
An important core element of our program is service learning. Students learn how to serve their communities within this teacher education program, as it forms part of coursework and practice at the Funda Ujabule School. After students have done service learning projects, focused for example on bullying or how to develop a sustainable garden at a school, they reflect on their experiences in the lecture hall as they link it back to theory.
The idea of service is important because it defines every aspect of the work we do. It's about us serving our students, it's about our students serving the children within the school system, but it's also about us serving the greater educational good in this country. And the idea of service is so important because there's a reciprocity built into the process.
With service learning, the institution involves not only the school and the particular school on the premises, but it involves the entire community.
So we believe that learning to be a teacher is not just about what do you do in the classroom and what do you do at university, but it's also about learning about democracy. It's learning about civic education. It's learning about how do you meet the needs of your school community in which you work, and how's this linked to your academic content.
Our faculty conceptual framework has a few words that stand out for me: care, responsibility, accountability, and ability to work in diverse educational contexts. I needed to teach the students about being a caring teacher, giving back to the community what you are learning in class, and what you would be able to do with that when you go into practice. They all say that if it wasn't for the service learning project, they wouldn't have bonded as they did and even understood the content as they did.
The Developing Child is the organizing framework for our programs.
The strategic framework is that it's learning about children and how children learn and develop. We planned our practicum in such a manner that the students follow a child from grade R, and of course when they move to their second year, then they move with the very same child to grade 1, to grade 2, to grade 3. Paying special attention to the one child is actually also strengthening their ability to identify how this child is developing, what are this child's strengths, what are the child's weaknesses, and also to think reflectively on how can this child be strengthened.
Being paired with a child from grade R, and now she's in grade 2. So it's been 3 years with her. Each and every single day, there's some kind of development and improvement between me and her, and how she actually interprets knowledge and, exploring her imagination.
Pairing individual students with individual children in the school takes a huge amount of planning and organization.
At any given stage, we normally have about 40 to 80 students in the school, which brings us to about 10 to 15 students per classroom, which means we need to divide all of the students into different groups and then do the schedules, timetables, ensure that our timetable with the students in the classroom matches up with the school's timetable. So the students then go into the classroom from Monday to Friday, spend some time in the classroom itself, but they travel with the children. So if they go from a language classroom into the science classroom, they walk with them, attend the classes with them.
The students have 6 modules of child development that they do in their coursework over 3 years, their first 3 years. So it's very much a core component of the entire program, and many of the other modules in the program feed from the childhood development module.
Funda Ujabule Teaching School serves as an educational hub for schools in the surrounding area.
As the teaching school development practitioner at Funda Ujabule School, my role includes developing individual teachers, so coaching and mentoring teachers in terms of classroom practice, improving content knowledge, working with teachers in the classrooms, and then hosting various workshops for the staff, arranging outside input and running workshops within the school to develop good practices that we can showcase for the student teachers. The 4 partner schools. Firstly, we have Naturina School number 2, Naturina's Primary School number 2. That's a brand new school that started 2 years ago. So it's a wonderful school to develop because they're setting up all their systems. Winnie Ingekwazi Primary School is a full service school. So they have a very well developed learning support unit. Entandweni Primary School is a foundation phase school going from grade R to grade 4, but it's a massive school with at least 6 classes per grade, and they have well over 1,000 learners. J.S. Mpanza Primary School is a school that nearly shut down, but the teachers reinvented the school, did a tremendous amount of work, and they have the largest vegetable garden you've ever seen. They actually supply the local grocery stores with vegetables.
As an ex-principal, I also offer leadership and management training to UJ's 4 partner schools. This training focuses on areas that are identified as areas where support and development is required.
An important focus of the Childhood Education Flagship is to make accessible, actionable knowledge for teachers in the country. This has sparked the creation of the UJ Knowledge for Action website.
The Funda Ujabule website serves 2 purposes in that it's going to showcase the research done by the Department of Childhood Education at the University of Johannesburg, and it's going to be a website for teachers with video applications, lesson plans, all sorts of information that teachers can download to improve their practice.
Research is a crucial component of the work that we do in the program and the teaching school.
So when we do research or we learn something new about our programs, it's not about it staying with us only. We have to engage with the important stakeholders in the field in which we work. One of such stakeholders is the Department of Higher Education and Training, because they are responsible for teacher education nationally. So we engage regularly in the fora that they have available for this purpose. We also engage with the Department of Basic Education because in a sense we have a foot in each department. We work with higher education, but we also work with the schooling system because that's who we are preparing teachers for.
There's quite a lot of research that is taking place. There's math, there's language. I think it's going to be very beneficial, to a teaching school because there's always new findings. So I might say that research is of importance to us as a teaching school because we need to know and keep abreast with whatever that is happening when it comes to issues of teaching and learning.
The school itself is a wonderful laboratory. It's a challenging brief to realize that here are all these young children, here are their teachers, their parents, the school governing body and so on, and we need to find out what works here and where can things be improved. And that can only be done by in-depth research. So we have the privilege of doing many of our pilot studies, which we then take further into the country at the school, where we can do micro studies, where we can look at the very interaction between teachers and children and between children and themselves. We also study the program that the university has implemented in the school, the teacher education program, and that we've done or are still doing with the University of Helsinki. The model of the teaching school that we try to emulate comes from the University of Helsinki's teaching schools.
So one of the big critiques in this country has been that universities are not educating teachers sufficiently well to serve the needs in the school. We need to take a step back from that and say, well, what is it that we do as teacher educators?
One of the biggest goals of being a teacher educator is exactly that we want to serve the future. So if we want to be in service of the future, what better place is there than being a teacher? Because we impact and we influence the future directly in the classroom.
I think what we do is to impress upon students that they need to strive towards excellence as they serve. And that really is about making them aware of the fact that they are nation builders. that they've been called to this profession, and I believe that our students have the future of generations in their hands.
An excellent primary school teacher not only serves the children of this country, but also shapes society for the future.